up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Alexander of the almighty Crowne. Thank you for being here, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. Your new album, Operation Phoenix, is an absolute killer beast of an album. For people who haven't heard the full length album yet, though, could the first singles that you released, Operation Phoenix, Champions, and In the Name of the Fallen, be a good representation of what this whole album will sound like?
Yeah, yes and no actually, because I think we have some other parts on the album that are like really cool and not like in the 100% same vibe as the single. So I hopefully it will come some tiny surprises as well. But overall, I think it's like a really cool album. So hopefully, no one will like be disappointed if they like the first singles.
I can guarantee you they will not be disappointed when they hear this album. This album is absolutely killer. Was the intention to just continue where you left off after Kings in the North, or was this meant to be kind of like a new beginning for Crowne in a way?
I think actually it's kind of yes and no on that question as well, because when we started up the whole Crowne thing, we weren't sure how people would react, and we weren't sure how we would react on like doing this because we have all our other bands and that kind of thing. So I mean, Kings of the North was like like a big surprise for all of us that so many people seem to like enjoy it and like the album. So I think that Operation Phoenix is like a continue on on Kings in the North, but hopefully this will make the project or the band something more interesting. Like hopefully we can do some live things and continue the journey on like a more interesting way, if you know what I mean.
Definitely, definitely. But it's not like Operation Phoenix is the sequel, right? It's not like people need to listen to Kings of the North in order to get.
No, 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 not nothing like that. I mean, of course, we have done some like vibe with the names and with the artwork and with the whole like like the Sweden crown things, but it's not that you need necessary to listen to Kings of the North for and enjoying Operation Phoenix.
I can see with the theme this being kind of like a movie, though. Maybe you can make Crowne like a musical film.
Yeah,
Story.
that would be cool.
Yeah, because it is a very I think the way I describe it, if I were to describe Crowne with one word, it would be kind of cinematic. So I definitely get that sort of vibe from it.
That's cool. That's cool. Nice to hear that. Cool.
When with the making of both albums now, was did it always start off with a preconceived vision? Was there a specific idea, or was the songwriting process always very experimental and very improvisational?
I mean, from the first time, the whole Crown thing was supposed to be like a solo project because Frontiers wanted me to like doing an album for them. And when I met Jonah, we started to like enjoying writing together, and we started to working together for the first time, and we enjoyed it so much that we thought it was like cooler to doing something more than just like writing some songs for just me. So basically, I think that Operation Phoenix is like in the same spirit as Kings of the North, because me and Jonah has just written songs that we like, and we have like sent it over to each other and discussed it from there. And I mean, of course, it was maybe a little easier to write for Operation Phoenix because now we had some success from Kings of the North, and we also knew how like which songs people preferred. So I mean, it was of course a little improvisation, but it was kind of a little easier to write for Operation Phoenix because Kings of the North was like we didn't know what to do. We just like wrote and wrote, and it was like, yeah, this is a good song, and let's have it on board. But now it was like, yeah, we want to do this like metal, power metal, melodic rock vibe. So yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, like that, and I've always loved that. Like, I know some bands they hate their first albums because they were still figuring it out and whatever. But I feel like it has almost kind of like what I call the debut charm behind it, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there is always something cool about finding out how a great band has sort of like started and where they were sort of experimenting.
That's true. That's true.
Yep. And also with the whole power metal thing, I also say that both albums have what I call the Frontiers vibe behind it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, with the formation of Crown, though, because this was intended to be a solo career, but then you have a whole great roster of artists collaborating with this. Would you say that maybe there are elements that combined Art Nation and Heat in Europe together into like one project in a way, or were you all kind of like trying to distance yourselves from your previous projects?
I actually think that because Crowne was like we started up in during the pandemic, so I mean, at the moment, I think all of us were just like happy to do something because all of the other bands that we have was like taking a break or having a pause or something like that. So for us, it was like just yeah, it was just fun to like recording an album and be creative again. But I mean, now when the pandemic is not over, but it's like we can be out and tour again with our other bands. I mean, of course, it's like hard to know how to prioritize everything. But if I speak for myself, it would be so amazing to like try to combine both Art Nation and Crowne and just try to try to combine it so we can be out and touring and release music not at the same time, you know.
Mm.
So so it's but I mean of course it's hard for like John having Europe. I mean one of the biggest rock bands of all time. I mean it's always hard when you're playing in a band and are like very successful. But I mean if you want to do it, of course we can manage to at least do some live shows, and I know that we are planning to hopefully do some live shows this year. So let's cross our fingers.
Yeah, and bring that shit to the U.S., please.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Um, it could have experimenting with this process, though, maybe allow you to bring some new things into Art Nation as well. Have you discovered things that maybe?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, that's actually the funnest part for myself because we actually got the final master for the new Art Nation album today, and I listened to it, and it's like it's of course sounds like Art Nation and more like the first and the second Art Nation album, but it's also sounding, of course, like Crowne because I have written so many Crowne songs and I have written all Art Nation songs this time, but it doesn't sound like Crowne. It just like sounds like Art Nation has evolved as well. So it feels so amazing to like, yeah, that Crowne has been like a very good thing for my personal creativity as well. So I had the yeah, you know, like the power and the inspiration to write the whole Art Nation album. So yeah, it's quite really cool actually.
Yeah, maybe you could do a double duty tour, play with Art Nation and then play with Crown, or vice versa.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So, in fact, make a Crown tour where it's Art Nation, Europe, Heat, and everybody. Like make every tour with Crown and bring all the bands involved in Crown.
That's so cool. And then we are like dead after that tour.
Yeah, but then Crown will be one of the great ultimate jams for a headliner.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. As a vocalist, have you always needed to hear music in order to come up with lyrics, or could a lyrical idea maybe help to dictate the direction of the music? Because with Art Nation, to have titles like Revolution and Liberation and Transition, in a way, it almost seems like that those are words that really do convey a lot of thought and represent something. So I was always wondering if you approach your lyrics from a very conceptual standpoint.
Yeah, and I mean that's true because Art Nation has always been like a personal. Um, it's so hard to describe in English, but it's like Art Nation has always been. It's always meant so much for me, and the lyrics and the songs and the album names has always been like it has always mean so much for me. So of course I have always had an idea behind the names. So
When you do you want your lyrics to be open to interpretation? This could be for Art Nation or Crown. Do you want your lyrics to be open to interpretation, or do you want the listener to be just as engaged with the lyricism as much as the music itself?
oh, that's a really hard question, I think, because I mean, of course, I want the lyrics to mean something bigger that people can like um, attach to them and become inspired by them. But for me as a songwriter, and I know that is mixed feelings about how you write songs and how it's should supposed to be when you write songs. But for me, it has always been like more interesting with great melodies and great hooks, and the lyrics is always something that have been finished after I have done uh, all the music and the melodies. I mean, my demos are like always. Uh, I'm just singing like words on my demos, and when I have the right vibe on the music parts, I'm starting to write the lyrics. So even if I of course want the lyrics to be something special and mean something, it has always been like so important for me. Like I know other artists that they really want, like the lyrics to be something very, very important and big, and yeah, you know.
Yeah, of course. But, there is like the famous saying, good lyrics can only go so far. If the music isn't going to be as good, are people going to even really necessarily care about the lyrics, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least I think like that. But of course, I know my girlfriend. She's the opposite. She always listens to the lyrics first, and if she doesn't like that, she doesn't like the music. So I mean, it's a tricky thing, and I think, I mean, it's just my way to write music, and of course I'm trying to write good lyrics as well. But I mean both Crowne and Art Nation is like very radio commercial bands. Like we're wanting this like big choruses and cool hooks, and for me I think like every hit music, it's more important with good melodies than like very, very good lyrics. But I don't know, it's maybe a taste feeling, like who you are and what do you prefer. So yeah.
Of course. In order to get that inspiration to either write lyrics or vocal melodies, do you have kind of like a place that you go to in order to cultivate ideas, like a man cave, if you will, or does inspiration just strike out of the blue for you?
um, I'm actually so it's like a hard process for me to like writing music, because I have friends that are like living for writing music to bands and pop artists here in Sweden, and they're like having the songwriting as a work. Like they are going to their studio, they are sitting in session for like 5 or 6 hours and only writing music. And I have tried that, but it has been so hard for me because I really need inspiration, and inspiration can come up so randomly for myself. It can be I'm out with my dogs and walking, and I see something, or I feel, smell something, and then I got this inspiration in my whole body, and I just want to like run to my studio and and write all that this inspiration down. But that can also be a tricky thing for me, because like with the Crowne album and also with Art Nation, it can be that people are waiting for me to like, okay, Alex, we have an album to do, and it's like deadline in 2 months, and you haven't sent us anything. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't have any inspiration. So I've tried to like write something, but I haven't come up with something. So for me, the inspiration can definitely come up very randomly, but it's important to like be, like outside for me to like be in in the society, to be like in the city, walking, see things, talk to people, to try to like get this inspiration inside myself. So
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean it's a tricky question.
yeah, I think it's fair to say inspiration usually strikes at the most inconvenient of times, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Um, now, a lot of people, whenever I interview a band and I ask them how the making of an album is, and they say, "Oh yeah, we all agreed on this." I never believe it when a musician tells me that. You're in a band with yeah. No offense to any artist who's told me that. You're in a band with 4 to 5 other people. You're writing 10 to 12 songs. You're surrounded by a producer and managers and all this.
Yeah,
There's so much that goes into it. Not everybody is going to agree on everything. But do you think that
that's so
maybe
true.
but do you think that maybe your bandmates being in different headspaces or feeling differently or having different ideas maybe actually help enhance the making of a song and add more variety and different ideas as well?
Yeah, and that's also a very interesting and good question. And actually, I mean, in a perfect world, when everything is like just rolling the way you want, of course, it would be cooler to like having the time to explore everyone's thoughts and ideas. But I mean, that's so hard. I have tried so many different ways to like managing a band and write music for an album, and I must say that it's hard to involve a whole band. I mean, that's the cooler thing, and maybe the best thing in the long way. But like both for Crowne and Art Nation, it's like 1 or 2 people that are like driving the car, and the other one is like sitting in the back seat, and like of course they are like thinking things, and they are like telling us things if they are happy with something, but it's like you have 1 or 2 people that care so much and like have this fire inside that this is so important, and the other one is like more grateful of just being on board or being a part of it. So and I mean, yeah, it's hard because it's so hard to like living on playing hard rock music these days. At least in my opinion. So you need to like think like a pop artist, like to produce everything very fast, to have new music all the time. So people, your fans, always have something to look forward to it, because today it's music everywhere. You can listen to so much music so easy today. So you need to think a little different from maybe you needed to do like 20 or 30 years ago. But yeah, that's just my own opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much that art or music or any form of expression has changed. It's just people have changed so much.
Yeah,
So like the way that there are going to be bands, and it makes me sad to think there are going to be bands that will eventually that are very underground now may break up and all the members could pass away, but 100 years from now they'll dig this music up like it's a relic, and it'll be in a museum before you know it.
no, but I mean, it's so scary because it's like I mean, just a recording phase. I mean, if we go back 20 years ago, it was like the band going to the studio all together and they're recording it, and it was like we're doing this as a band, and of course it's still bands that are doing like that. But today, both labels and everyone is like trying to do everything as cheap as possible, and it's like so expensive to like rent a studio for a month to record an album. So I mean, both in Crowne and Art Nation, I know very big and successful bands that are like the vocalists are recording his things in the bedroom, his apartment, and the drummer is like have his own drum studio in the basement. So it's like a whole new thing to to playing in a band and and doing the whole band thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I've always said that with the involvement of technology and music, like with every form of innovation in the world, there's always positives and negatives. I'm sure there were musicians and rock musicians in the 50s and 60s who were saying, "Man, I really hate that we have to go to a practice space to learn all
Yeah.
this. I wish I could just record this from my bedroom." And you know,
Yeah.
but
Definitely, definitely.
yep. I have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
Here comes the most difficult question of the whole interview.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you know when you're finished with a song?
That's actually something I discuss very often with 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 everyone, because that's a so hard thing to know, because I'm I'm awful at knowing when I'm finished with a song, and 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 I don't have a good answer on that, because I just know that I'm trying every time when I'm in my studio, I'm writing something new. I'm always trying to, like, okay, don't overthink it. Like, here I am, and I'm writing something, and I have this good vibe energy about the song, and just fulfill it, and then you drop it, and then you can, like, continue with something else, or maybe go back to the song the day after. But that's so hard, because at least for myself, I always want to, like, write the best song I have ever written, and that can be so tricky for myself, because I can be, like, sitting with, like, tiny things, like a little line or a little keyboard thing that no one will hear except for myself, and I can sit with that for, like, days sometimes, and yeah, it doesn't become so effective when you are like that. So I'm just trying to practicing on, like, not overthinking, and just like, okay, here is a song, and I have all the parts I need for this song, and it sounds cool. It doesn't need to be the best song I have ever wrote, but it's a cool song, and now I, like, need to continue, because otherwise I can sit with one song for 1 year.
Yeah, I have a feeling like for most artists, like if they didn't have the guidance or the extra input, they'd be working on the same song throughout their entire career.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you are more, if you're like several people that are being in the songwriting process, it may be easier, because at least I think that, because all my collaboration I have done with other artists and songwriter, it has always become easier to finish something when you are, like, more minds in the workspace. But when I'm alone writing something, it can be awful, actually, because you are your own judge, and at least for myself, I don't have that, like courage to believe that everything I do is so amazing, and that I'm, like, so good at what I'm doing. So instead, I become a little nervous and, like, criticize myself, that, like, okay, but is this really good? And I don't know, actually, maybe I should doing a total new verse, or maybe the chorus is not as good as I think it is. And yeah, and you start to overthink all all things about the songwriting, and then everything becomes very hard for yourself.
Definitely, definitely. I've always wondered, and going back to the question I asked too, if there's always a mutual agreement on everything like that. I don't know how Slipknot does it with 9 members, let alone all the other people on their team. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So before we go, finally, I just want to thank you so much for your time today and for such an awesome conversation to start the day off. Is there just anything else with either Art Nation or Crowne that you would like to promote? We got Operation Phoenix coming out at the end of this month. This album is killer for everybody listening to it. Be sure to check it out. Just what else would you like to promote going on?
I mean, I'm just so thankful for you guys having me, and I'm so thankful for all the people that are, like, pre-ordered the album and have been, like, so positive about the whole Crown thing, and everything that we're doing. So yeah,
Yeah.
just grateful for having me.
Thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Alexander of Art Nation and Crowne Operation Phoenix. Be sure to check that out. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.